Greetings and salutations, LHS community. Welcome to another edition of Holding Court here on the First Day Hoops Report YouTube channel. I am, of course, FSHR founding editor and Holding Court host Chris Stevens, and I guess proud Delaware State University alumnus after yesterday. Holding Court, of course, is the show where we talk basketball around here, but I am wearing my DSU shirt because yesterday was homecoming for all of us Delaware State University alumni. And I was covering the football game for my day job, which, of course, is I'm a contributing writer for HBCUsports.com. And I figured, well, it's homecoming. It's a football game. I will go. Saw a couple folks, just walking around campus for one thing is just like incredibly different. Because when I went to Delaware State, this was back in the early part of the 21st century, like early 2000s. And these kids have new dorms. They have dining halls inside the dorms. Now, granted, dining halls inside of the dorms is not something new to the college experience, but for Delaware State, that is something akin to, just modernizing the entire university. Because I remember we used to either have to walk to Grocery Hall. I mean, not Grocery Hall. I'll talk about Grocery Hall in a second. We used to have to walk to Conrad or the CAF, and the CAF was only open certain hours of the day. And it wasn't open on weekends. So if you wanted breakfast, you had to go to Conrad. So now these kids can eat inside the sanctity of their dorms now at Delaware State University, which is a wonderful thing. Now, Grocery Hall, I'm very sad that Grocery Hall is no longer there. If you're a Delaware State alum, you know Grocery Hall, that building that had no heat, no AC. And so it was just like whatever time of year you were trying to get your financial aid and registration work done, it wasn't going to be comfortable. But that building made strong people. and when I walked by because I got a good parking spot near the EH building, and then walked past William C. Jason Library, and then I just noticed that there was just like a fence, a cordoned off fence, and grass where Grocery Hall once sat. Like, nobody told me that they knocked down Grocery Hall. I mean, granted, Grocery Hall had been the new admin building, well, it's not the new admin building now because it's been open for almost 20 years now. But the new admin building, it was, it's been there. So, I mean, I guess it makes sense to, do away with Grocery Hall because there wasn't too much going on in there. But still, it was just one of those buildings that if you were a Delaware State student of a certain time period, you remember it fondly or not so fondly. But it was, it was just part of the experience, and I was sad to see it go. I actually took a picture of it. I may post a picture on one of my social media feeds that actually I did. I posted it on my Twitter feed, on my personal Twitter feed. So I may retweet it from the First Day Hoops Report Twitter feed so y'all can see it. But anyway, basketball, yes. So I will. Yeah, the football game yesterday. If you're a Delaware State alum, boy. We used to have a good football team. I swear, hand to God we did. Hand to God we had a good football team. I don't know what happened, but hopefully, things turn around because we're if nothing else, basketball season's coming up, and I think the Delaware State men and women are going to be pretty decent this year. So as I've talked about in previous episodes, so we will see what happens. Meanwhile, in other basketball news, the Las Vegas Aces wrapped up their second straight WNBA championship on Wednesday, beating the New York Liberty 70-69 in a game where A'ja Wilson reestablished herself. Well, I mean, anybody with common sense could see it beforehand, but she pretty much let everyone know that she is the best women's basketball player on the planet, and it's not even close. Like, we're talking about Chelsea Gray. And when you have a non-contact foot injury, you always fear the worst, and the Aces haven't said anything yet. So maybe it's an Achilles, maybe it's a ligament tear in the ankle, maybe it's a dislocated toe or something, but she couldn't play. Kia Stokes, the rebounding and defensive center, she couldn't play either. Her foot was in a boot. Candace Parker hasn't played since July. So it was A'ja Wilson, Jackie Young, Kelsey Plum, and the Pips. and I hate to say that about professional basketball players because professional basketball players, men or women, would blow the doors off of any regular human being walking this planet. Like, there was a dude that used to play when Wilmington had a team in what was known as the Atlantic Basketball Association. There was a dude who played for a team that was based out of Frederick, Maryland, but he was living in Wilmington, and he was at the he was playing at the YMCA one time, and these dudes are talking about, well, you didn't make it big time, so you can't hoop. So this dude proceeds to just dominate. Like, it's 5-on-5, but he's taking a rebound coast to coast, dunking on guys, breaking ankles, making 3-point shots that most of us couldn't even dream of making. And it looked so easy for him. So professional basketball players, no matter the level, they're better than most of us as human beings, in the athletic sense. So, I mean, I don't mean to call Asia's teammates the Pips, but when you think about it, that team coming into the season was thought of as a super team, with Asia, Jackie, Chelsea, Kelsey, and KP and Candace. And then you lose Candace Parker to a broken foot. She was actually playing on a broken foot for most of the time when she just decided to go ahead and have the surgery and hopefully come back next year. I don't think Candace Parker is going to retire on the injured list. Everybody's like, is this it for Candace Parker? I know she said she wanted to go out on her terms and everything. I don't think Candace Parker is going to retire on a broken foot. I just don't. She's going to come back and play. So you lose Candace Parker in July. You still go 16-2 after that. And then, of course, game 3 of the WNBA Finals, Chelsea Gray gets hurt. Kia Stokes gets hurt. And the Liberty are really feeling themselves. And I guess this is a good time to shout out Smyrna High School's own Benijah Laney, probably the most likable person on that team, quite frankly. So, Benijah played a great WNBA playoffs. It sucks that she didn't get to win the championship, but everybody knows who she is now. Like, she really worked her way up from being cut from different teams, missing a year here and there, having to, sign these weird WNBA contracts that, we'll probably have to talk more about in a different episode. And she became, for all intents and purposes, the heart and soul of that New York Liberty team. She defended, she scored, she did everything she was supposed to do. It was her more known teammates that didn't. I mean, we're talking about Sabrina Ionescu, the girl with the signature shoe. She averaged 13 points a game in the playoffs, but only 9 in the finals. And after that night-night gesture, Sydney Colson, who is mostly thought of as the WNBA class clown, locked her up in game 4. Almost fouled out doing it, but yeah, she locked her up. Breanna Stewart, the woman who won MVP over Asia Wilson, was 3 for 17 in the game 4. Jonquel Jones had 6 points the entire game in game 4. So, yes, this is a case of the Aces taking the championship shorthanded, but it's also a case of the Liberty just handing that thing over to them. That's literally what happened. Like, you can't convince me that the Liberty can't, be upset with anyone but themselves, because it was there for the taking. You win game 3 by a sizable amount, and then the Aces lose 2 starters in the process. They should have won the championship on Friday, because game 4 was Wednesday, and then, of course, game 5 would have been on Friday. But once again, Asia Wilson. And I said Asia was going to have to go for 60 for the Aces to have a chance in game 4, but she scored 24 points and grabbed 16 rebounds and was like, okay, I can dominate this game the way I've been dominating games all year. I'm going to get in the post. I'm going to get to my spots. I'm going to hit this little mid-range elbow jumper. I'm going to rebound. I'm going to block shots. I'm going to start the break. I'm going to do everything my team needs me to do, and then hopefully they can follow suit. And you got to give credit to the teammates that showed up. Alicia Clark, probably one of the best 3-and-D players in the WNBA, had 13 points. And once again, you got to remember that Breanna Stewart is 6'4", and Alicia Clark is generously listed at 5'11". And Clark had her in irons all game long. Matter of fact, the final possession, when Stewie was looking for the shot, Alicia was all up in her chest and she had to pass off. Got to give credit to Alicia Clark for that. Kayla George, the backup center, she had a green light, unlike any other backup center I've ever seen. Like, Becky Hammond did not blink when Kayla George shot 11 3-pointers, made 3 of them. And they were 3 critical ones too. Like, at points when the Liberty were starting to kind of like pull away, or maybe even, keep a lead, Kayla George hit those 3-pointers when they counted. Jackie Young eventually found herself in the second half. Kelsey Plum didn't do much because she had a broken finger, but the only thing she did was initiate the offense in the half court, and she did it pretty well. Like, it's not something that you want to happen regularly because KP tends to go off script, from time to time. And Becky probably just had Becky Hammond, the coach, probably just had a conversation with her, said, if you go off script, I'm pulling you. You're going on the bench. So KP just stuck to the script, to quote Jay-Z. She initiated the offense, looked for her shot when it was there, but otherwise just, got the ball in the hands of Jackie, Asia, AC, and Kayla George. And once again, I already mentioned Sydney Colson, did a great job defending Sabrina Ionescu. So that Aces team, I don't know if I'm ready to call them the greatest yet, because the Houston Comets still have the longest string of WNBA titles, 4 straight from 1997 to 2000. And that was a team that had Hall of Famers on it. Cheryl Swoops, Tina Thompson, Cynthia Cooper. That's the original Big Three. That's the original WNBA super team. And they don't get enough credit for jumpstarting that league by being as dominant as they were. So can this Aces team replicate that? Quite possibly. Will they? I don't know. Because you got to think the Liberty are going to come back really good and ticked off next year. The Washington Mystics, oh my God, Elena Deladon and the Mystics, if they ever get healthy, because they were hurt at so many different points last year. Like, Elena's still, struggling with her back a little bit. Shakira Austin, the center that is probably poised to change the face of the league like Asia is. She had a hip problem. She didn't play in the playoffs. Ariel Atkins was hurt at different points. Tasha Cloud was hurt. Christy Tolliver tore her ACL after coming back from an Achilles injury. So it's like the Mystics just, if they didn't have any bad luck, they wouldn't have any luck at all. So that's a team that should be watched out for next year. I think the Atlanta Dream are going to be much better. Dallas, who gave Las Vegas fits in the WNBA semifinals. So, no, it's not going to be easy for the Aces if they end up, matching that Houston Comets 4 straight championships thing. But they got the team to do it. And the good news is for the Aces is that they have salary cap room. They have max room. So they can go out and get a max player if they choose, or they can use that max money to get two or three pieces that could probably shore up that bench. Like, I'm banging the drum for Becky to go get Aerial Powers from Minnesota. Aerial Powers is a scoring machine, but for some strange reason, Cheryl Reeves left her on the bench in Minnesota this year. I don't know why, but Aerial Powers is a free agent. Skylar Diggins is a free agent. Skylar Diggins-Smith, is a free agent. So the Aces have got options to go, shore up their team a little bit if they choose to, and I think they will. But that was a fun WNBA final, and the good thing is that it set not just attendance records for the people in person, but ratings records for the people watching on TV. So I don't want to hear any more disingenuous comments about how women's sports don't have a market, because they do. They absolutely do. Like, what am I trying to say here? Because I don't you hate when you're in the middle of a good conversation and, in the train of thought, and then your train of thought just kind of like, stops at the station for a second. It's like, wait a minute, what am I trying to say here? Yeah. You can't, if you're not a fan of women's sports, cool, but don't take away the option of people who are and want to see. There are, so many talented women athletes out there. Like, this is the best generation for women's athletes that I can think of. And of course, I've been watching sports for at least 35 years. But I think when you can think about Asia Wilson in the WNBA, Simone Biles in gymnastics, Sha'Carri Richardson on the track, there's so many talented athletes out there, talented women athletes that are, you got Paige Buckers in college, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. There's talent. There's skill, there's personality. This is a great time for women's sports, and they deserve our respect and our support. So I'm not one of those people that's, going to sit here and say that, I don't enjoy the women's game as much as I do the men's game, because honestly, I'm going to keep it real with y'all. I'm just going to localize it for a second. The girls' basketball games around here, when it comes to the better teams, are a lot more entertaining than the boys' games as a whole. I'm just going to go out there and say it. Like, when you get a good game, like when you get like a Ursuline versus a Sanford, when you get an Apple versus a Cape, when you get a Woodbridge versus a Cape, or a St. Elizabeth's versus a Sanford, or a Caravel, for crying out loud. Like, how did I forget Caravel? They won the state championship in 2022. So there's talent in women's basketball and girls basketball locally. And their games are a lot more entertaining because you'll get at least one big time matchup a year in the boys, whereas at least one in a week, mind you, where it's like, okay, this should be a good game. And then it ends up being a blowout. So yes, support women's sports, support girls sports. If you can't, cool, but don't take away from the option from the people that do, that want to. And that's pretty much that. Do we have to talk about the Sixers? I mean, I guess we do because the season starts on Tuesday. Yeah, it starts Tuesday. So yeah, the NBA season starts Tuesday. If you forgot, the Denver Nuggets won their first championship, thanks to Nikola Jokic defeating Miami Heat 4-1 in the NBA Finals, and everybody is ratcheting up their team to dethrone the Nuggets and try to get this dynasty out of the way before it even starts. The Bucks traded for Dame Lillard. The Celtics traded for Drew Holiday. The Warriors traded for Chris Paul. The Suns just got Bradley Beal to go with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. And the Heat are still strong. And the Sixers, meanwhile, they got to do with a fading hairline. I can't talk because I don't have any hair. A dude with a fading hairline who still chooses to have braids. He's out of shape. He's crying like a baby because he didn't get the long-term contract he wanted. And he's trying to force a trade when nobody wants to trade for him. So what does this mean for the Philadelphia 76ers this year? I don't know, because I'm not going to watch until at least February. I can't do it. I can't. And I've been a Sixers fan my whole life. But this has been the most disinterested that I've been in the Sixers season probably since the time they traded Charles Barkley. And I was in 6th grade when they traded Charles Barkley. So here we are. Here I am as an adult, with responsibilities, and and the Sixers are still affecting my mental health. So it's hard. It's going to be hard to watch this team this year. I mean, especially, if the Phillies end up winning the World Series, shouts out to the Phillies. They have a chance to close out the NLCS tomorrow. Of course, this is going up on Sunday. You guys will probably see it on a Monday, but they have the chance to close out the NLCS Monday at home against the Arizona Diamondbacks. They'll get the winner of the Houston Astros, Texas Rangers in the World Series. So if the Phillies end up winning and, the Eagles, and I'm not an Eagles fan, my football team used to be the Cleveland Browns. When the Cleveland Browns signed the dude who was terrorizing massage therapists, I said, I'm done. So I don't have an NFL team, but if the Eagles, 49ers, and Dolphins continue to play great football, that's going to be fun to watch. The Sixers are just not appointment viewing for me right now. Maybe at some point they'll pull it together, but I don't see that happening in any particular stretch. So, it is what it is with that team. I mean, until they trade Harden, and honestly, I have a bold prediction and I have a bold take, honestly. I'm doing the Brian Windhorst fingers, so everybody knows that I mean business. If this team gets off to a slow start, don't be surprised if Daryl Morey cleans house. And I mean cleans house. I mean Harden, Tobias Harris, and possibly Joel Embiid. It wouldn't surprise me if Morey realizes that, as the late great Billy Preston once saying, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. So, it wouldn't surprise me if Morey came to that realization if this team gets off to like a 2-10 or a 7-14 or like a 19-23 and just says, okay, you know what? This is not a team that's going to win a championship. We've gone as far as we can with these guys. Let's start dumping off, finding assets, future talent, and rebuild the team. Yeah, it's going to be the start of another process. I feel that coming. I just don't. I mean, unless this team really gets off to a good start, there's really going to be some, because Harden's going to bicker, Embiid's going to do this, his passive aggressive thing. Tobias Harris is just going to be Tobias Harris, and that's not really good. So at this point, you just have to, fish or cut bait, rather. So it wouldn't surprise me if Morey just cut the bait and said, you know what? Time to go. It's time to move on. And that's my take on the Sixers. As far as the NBA as a whole, I think we are going to get a Denver Nuggets, Boston Celtics NBA Finals. It wouldn't surprise me if somehow the Chris Paul experiment actually works in Golden State, or if LeBron and AD, really do get that one good healthy year together and dominate. or if even, the Dame Giannis partnership works out. It wouldn't surprise me if that happens. But I just think Denver's too strong because Jokic is who he is. Jamal Murray has, the confidence now of having a very good, probably almost next to sensational NBA Finals. So I would, today my pick on October 22nd, 2023 is the Denver Nuggets and the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals. I got the Nuggets winning in 7 games. So that's going to be my official pick. We'll come back to this, of course, later on in the season. I was going to say year, but of course we won't come back to it later in the year because once 2023 ends, we got 2 weeks before 2 weeks. We've got 2 weeks before the start of winter practice. How exciting is that? That now, high school basketball season is literally right around the corner because the first game is going to be played on November 30th. And I like it that way. I'll be honest with you. The thing that's bothering me the most about, kids playing multiple sports, besides the greater risk of them getting hurt playing multiple sports, is that basketball season around here starts way too late from a high school perspective. Like when it was starting right up the second week of December, it was like, why? Why? Basketball is meant to start in November. And I guess, November 30th is the earliest that, some teams wanted to start or could start. But I would like to see a point where we get back to a point where basketball season starts around Thanksgiving or a little before. I really would like that. Because now, if you're not familiar, this is another history lesson. If you don't like history lessons, this might be the wrong channel for you because I tend to go back in the day a lot. And not even from a get off my lawn type of perspective. Just want to give folks context for the way things used to be and how, the game has changed so much locally. But yeah, there was a time when basketball season started, middle of November. You had your practice used to start around Halloweenish. So it's not that far away, but you didn't have as much, practice time. Like a lot of coaches knew who their guys or girls were because you had to know because the season was going to start in 2 weeks. So you've got, that going for you. And then, we had things like, the Kappa Classic and different tournaments that would, invitationals that either schools would host or like, the Kappa Classic was sponsored by the local chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi, which is the Divine Nine Black fraternity. And they would, it would either, the last Kappa Classic I remember, it was a Christiana. It was a Christiana, 1998. That was my senior year of high school, 1998-99. I used to do video for the Howard basketball team. Tell you how long ago this was. And it was a Christiana. So, yeah, that was the last Kappa Classic I remember. The year before was at Wilmington. No, a couple years before was at Wilmington High. So, yeah. Once Wilmington High announced it closed down, then they moved the Kappa Classic to Christiana. So, yeah, the Kappa Classic used to be a Christiana. It used to be like the second or third week in November, if my math is correct. So basketball around here has changed so much, and you can't go back. You mean, we can all wish we could go into a time machine and map things back to where it was when, people actually cared about public schools and different things of that nature, but it is what it is. So yeah, basketball season starting right around the corner. College starts sooner than that. And I had a chance to go to Goldie Beacom and talk to Beth Ann Burke, the women's coach, Janiyah Stevens. Oh my gosh. This is the first time in my career, and I've been in sports media and sports journalism for going on 22 years. And this is the first time that I've met an athlete with the same last name as me. It was so crazy because we just because when Coach Burke introduced us, we laughed at each other, and then I called Janiyah cousin after we finished chatting. So it's like it's so strange, that as long as I've been doing this, that's the first time I've met an athlete with the same, or even a coach, athlete, or administrator. That's the first time I've met somebody with the same last name as me. It's the craziest thing. But yeah, talked to Janiyah Stevens and Rory Siskowski from St. Elizabeth's. Rory is still shooting the lights out. If you haven't seen a Golden Beacon game yet, she finished top 3 in the nation last year in Division II in 3-point percentage. So yeah, it stands to reason that you just can't leave Rory Siskowski open either at a high school or college level. So yeah, I got to go to Goldie Beacon's women's practice last week. Talk to Coach Burke, talk to Janiyah Stevens, talk to Roy Siskowski, and that was fun. And working on getting around to everyone else around the state, from a college context. That includes Delaware Tech, Goldie Beacon men, Wilmington's men and women, UD's men and women, of course, Del State's men and women. So if you are a coach or a Delaware State, if you're a college player at either of these institutions and you watch this, drop us a line. The email will be in the description below. We'll be glad to set up a time and a date to come out and talk to y'all. And of course, we're going to get to some games because we'll have a whole month before the season. Well, not a whole month, probably about 2 weeks. So yeah, we'll have 2 weeks before the high school season starts. So I'm going to try to get out to every gym possible from a college context to be able to, preview everybody, talk about what the expectations are for the season and all of that. I'm very much looking forward to that. And after that, I'll still, find a way around, the high school schedule to get to a game here and there. So, being a one-man band is tough, but I have fun doing it, And that's why I kind of took 2 weeks off. Well, just a week off, actually, because when I dropped that preseason top 10 for the boys and girls a couple weeks ago, someone who was a parent of another player, and I won't put them completely on blast, but I will say that it's interesting who gets to say, who has an opinion on high school sports and who doesn't, even though I've been doing this longer than anybody else. But, I addressed that parent head on. I said, what we do here, or what I do here, because I'm a one-man band, I said, but what I do here is based in facts and based on what I've seen. And if you have trouble accepting that, then maybe my content and what I produce and what I write and what I put out, maybe that may not be for you. But questioning my expertise and my professionalism is something that I will not accept. And that's pretty much it. And that is so funny because I got, I like, if you ever watch the old cartoons, there's always, a point where there's an angel on one shoulder of the cartoon character and the devil on another. And I'm gonna, go ahead and talk about, shouts out my guy G Johnson, Mr. Strictly GP, probably the best sports photographer around here. And he's the devil on my shoulder. He's always saying, you can't let stuff slide. You gotta, address it head on. I'm like, well, I don't want to address stuff. I try to keep everything professional because that's how I was taught as a journalist. Like, you don't become the story. You report the story. You don't want to be the story. And, don't be the news. Just report the news. But every so often, it seems like I have to, address people being disrespectful to what I do for some strange reason. I don't know why, because I don't think I've offended anybody, as far as I know. If I have, then I will gladly own up to my wrongs and apologize. But as far as I know, I just go to these games, talk to these kids, talk to these coaches, put together some highlights, maybe take some pictures because goodness knows I got to improve on my photography. Gosh, got to improve on my photography. I want to take good pictures, but I guess the videos are more, I guess the kids are more into the videos anyway. So if the kids are, resharing the reels, then I guess I'm all right anyway. But all I try to do is just report on basketball here in Delaware. And again, people tend to, take subliminal shots at what I'm doing or whatever. But if I keep addressing it, then I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's, publicizing the kids and the coaches that are doing the doggone thing on the floor. And that's what I try to focus on the most. And that's what I want to focus on the most going forward. So I'm going to try. And if y'all catch me, talking about this in a video, comment in the video and say, Chris, you said you weren't going to do that. So please keep me honest, hold me accountable, because we talk about accountability in the sports context. Accountability is a life skill. Like if you can't hold yourself accountable or hold people accountable for whatever they may or may not be doing, then you're doing yourself a disservice. So if y'all hear me talking about, people, taking shots at me or me trying to, justify what I'm doing, hold me accountable. Say, Chris, focus on what you do. Please, it's as simple as that. Just say, Chris, focus on what you do. As G's my guy, but I know G is going to, not do that. He's going to be the devil on my shoulder telling me to address things head on. I'm like, I'm tired of addressing stuff head on. I'm just trying to do what, trying to cover this game and have fun doing it. And people trying to take the fun out of it for some strange reason. I don't know why, because it's just a game. Like, it's literally kids playing a game. And some of y'all take it too seriously, or some of y'all use it to further your own agendas. But Only thing First State Hoops Report is interested in is these games and these kids, shining. And that's really it. And I didn't expect to talk this long. I honestly expected this to be about 15, 20, 25 minutes at the most, but 30 minutes. Yeah, that's a good time to end it here because I got to go for a walk before the NFL game starts. And I wanted to cook anyway, so I'm gonna get my ingredients ready for Sunday dinner and all of that, and then go for a walk and then come back, watch these games, and then make dinner. All right, that's it for this edition of Holding Court. Thank y'all for watching. Greatly appreciate y'all as always. All the information, our Twitter, our Instagram feed, our X feed. It's mama named it Twitter. I'm gonna call it Twitter. Our Instagram feed, our Twitter feed, our website, our Facebook link, the email address. All of that information will be in the description below, so you can follow us, keep up with everything we're doing. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, go ahead and shoot us an email. FirstStateHoopsReport@gmail.com. Once again, it will be in the description below. So thank y'all for watching. Next week, we will talk more about the first week of the NBA season, more college preview stuff, and then once again, more high school nostalgia leading into the regular season. So thank y'all for watching this edition of Holding Court. Take care of yourselves. Take care of yourselves and each other.